Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin between a rock and a hard place. We're currently sitting between the 20-day SMA and the 21-day EMA. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So we're going to get a close soon, and again, predicting these short-term moves is anyone's guess, and it's really hard to know what's going to happen. But in the meantime, it seems like potentially this was a fake out, as we mentioned one of the possibilities earlier. And looking at this from a more pragmatic point of view, if this does close like this, then we might want to consider the fact that, okay, well, it actually hasn't changed to be that bullish yet. Again, remember the idea, the implication is that we need to be above the 20-day to at least establish ourselves as somewhat bullish and potentially moving sideways at the very least. If we keep getting rejected back down on the daily time frame, and we don't care about the wicks, we've never cared about the wicks. If we keep getting rejected back down, then this would obviously be a little bit more bearish. So in the short term, we would like to see Bitcoin get above the 20-day moving average if in fact you're hoping for at least either a sustained rally or for sideways, a likely sideways continuation. If we keep getting pushed down by this moving average, like we've seen in the past, if we scroll back over, if we keep getting pushed down by it like we did here and here, obviously that would not be a good thing. It's not that the 20-day moving average is that significant. The point is to say, if the price cannot ever get above a 20-day average of itself, then by definition, the price has to be trending down. So this is the point. If we can't get above it, then clearly the price is trending down. We've spoken a lot about this general pattern, right? You'll see this everywhere. And again, look at how impressive this wick was. But we've also showed another perspective as well, and I think it's important to keep both perspectives in consideration. So the other perspective is this channel. To look at it maybe like this, rather than looking at it the other way, and look more at, say, the closes of these candles and see, okay, well, it's at least possible we're in a downtrend that came up to the top and then back down here and then back to the top and back down, back to the top. So again, I don't claim to have any idea what's going to happen here in the short term, but I think it is at least at the very least interesting to try to follow along. Is Bitcoin going to break out and enter into a new trend, or is it a slow bleed? Again, I don't react based on what I think will happen in the short term. I react based on the risk levels, which are it's all quantitative. There's nothing emotional about it. So remember, you can get access to what I'm doing and how I'm navigating these markets at intothecryptoverse.com, the premium list. Okay, you get access to the weekly reports, the weekly videos, the alerts channel, the risk dashboard, the whole 9 yards. Make sure you guys check that out, intothecryptoverse.com, and we have a lifetime deal going on for 2 more days after today that you can get access to before the price on that goes up. So what we want to do is we want to say, okay, well, where are these two moving averages? The 20-day is currently at 34,615. We are just below it. The 21-day EMA is at 33,379. So again, as I said before, we're more or less between a rock and a hard place. Which way will we go? And ultimately, that will likely dictate how altcoins will perform in the short term. If Bitcoin were to break out and it didn't go up, and if I say it just went sideways and started this trend, this would likely be very bullish for the altcoin market. If the price were to go up, then altcoins would likely trend up in USD. Not all of them, but some of the bigger ones probably would. But they probably would lose value against Bitcoin if Bitcoin starts increasing too quickly. The risk, again, there's always a risk on altcoins. The risk you're paying for is, well, what if this is a downtrend and we're about to see a dump back down to the lower part, and we then go right past 30K all the way down to, say, like 27K or something. And I know 27K has been thrown out a lot as a potential region where there would be a lot of buyers. So I would say to be to be pragmatic about things. Let's not operate in any deterministic way based on where we think it's going, but let's take a step back and react to whatever happens. And so that could involve making sure you're not overexposed in crypto. For me personally, I haven't added any money into crypto in a number of weeks at this point. Yes, if I had added more money over the last few weeks, I could have made more on the coins that pumped. But the other side of the equation as well, there's that risk you pay, and if it were to come back down, it's nicer to have much lower cost bases on a lot of these coins rather than to have them, rather than to have the cost basis continuing to go up and up and up because I'm chasing each and every pump. So I would say let's keep an eye on Bitcoin. Obviously, the biggest source of fear would be to look at it on a linear scale and to look at something like that and to say, well, from a non-biased perspective, to some degree, it does look like a bubble, right? We don't know. I mean, when you look at it on a log scale and we look at this last cycle, obviously we had a lot of these major moves where we corrected back down to the bull market support band, which is the combination of the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. So we know that this was our historical support. So for reference, to if you're not sure where those are, they're currently ranging from 20.6K up to around 23K. So that's where the bull market support band range is now, and we'll see if we go there, or if on the other hand, Bitcoin is able to establish, say, a trend of sideways movement for months. We did have times like that in the past cycle, and if that happens, then this will probably continue to slowly catch up. We'll wait and see what happens. Obviously, if the price dumps down to this level, then the risk at that point would be a lot lower to enter the market than it would be right now. However, if it were to dump to that level, a lot of people would probably be scared at that point. So again, generally you want to go against what your emotions tell you. Back when Bitcoin was over here and testing the bull market support band, back then we were making videos constantly about this is day 1 of testing it, or week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5, and week 6 we looked at testing the support band, and we said that if Bitcoin holds it, sentiment can change on a dime, and that's exactly what we've seen happen. So if the price of Bitcoin were to come back down to this level, and it will eventually, there likely would be a lot of fear, and that's just something we need to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that even if we came down to it, that we would necessarily hold it, but at least the risk would be a lot less than it was at like 42K. So I think that's ultimately what you need to think about is managing things, not in the sense of what's your absolute return, but what's your risk-adjusted return. If you always think about, oh, it's going to go up another 2 or 3x, eventually you're going to get burned, right? It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but eventually you will get burned. And the purpose of this channel is to say, okay, there's a better way to do this. We can do it based on risk levels where it completely takes out the emotion. Obviously, I like to come on here and speculate on short-term movements, but at the end of the day, to be completely honest with you guys, as I've said before, I have no idea what Bitcoin's going to do in the short term. Absolutely no idea. It's a random walk, geometric Brownian motion. Anyone who claims to know what they're doing or that they claim to know where it's going in the short term, it's not true. They don't know, and we'll see what happens, right? We'll simply see what happens. I think what's more useful is looking at macro level structures and trying to figure out, okay, this was a low risk time, and when we were all the way down here, when the risk level was like 0.12, it was an incredibly opportunistic time to get into the market. But when you're looking at valuations, even at say 32K, 34K, even the current levels that we're at, even if it were to drop another 3 or 4K, even at 30K, the risk is still relatively high, and that's why I have not personally bought Bitcoin in a number of months, in fact. And then again, that often, a lot of people have questions, well, why were you not buying it? Well, I was focusing on accumulation of other coins like Ethereum and Link and ADA and Polkadot, which have done very well. So you have to think of it in terms of, there's more than one asset that you can go after. When there's a time for Bitcoin, there's a time for accumulating Bitcoin, And these times, in my opinion, are really good times. It's not financial advice, but when we're around this period for Bitcoin, it's a really good time because whether it goes up, sideways, or down, it's likely going to outperform most altcoins. And if it goes up like it did in the future, again, if it goes up, then there's a good chance that during that movement, it would outperform altcoins. So then even if the altcoins went up in USD valuation, because there's a higher probability that the Bitcoin valuation went up more than the altcoins during that time period, you can actually accumulate more of that altcoin, even though the USD valuation went up, because you initially put, say, your USD into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went up quicker. So the idea is there's a lot of different assets, and each of them have very distinct patterns from one another, and we want to take advantage of those patterns. That's the purpose. But again, it's not day trading. It's more macro level swing trading that takes place on months, not days. Not typically days or anything close to it. So we'll see what happens with Bitcoin, whether it can get above sustainably the 20-day moving average in the short term would be something to watch. If it can and we're able to get above it, then we'll either want to look out for, again, as I said earlier, a sustained rally up, or at the very least, maybe just a reaccumulation zone. If this ends up being a big fake out and we end up coming back down, then I would say you need to consider the idea that this is a momentum shift in the price of Bitcoin up here, and that it might be trending down for a while, okay? Again, Band-Aids, Bitcoin does not typically like to just rip the Band-Aid off at once. Sometimes it does, but a lot of times it can be a systematic slow bleed rather than just taking the Band-Aid off and moving on. So if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. That'll wrap it up for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye.